Hello, you're welcome to another episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman. My name is Fagbeja, and today I'll be reading Azuka's story. I read somewhere that most Nigerian women have experienced harassment or molestation in one way or another. I don't know how true the statement is, but if my case is anything to go by, maybe there is some element of truth to it. I don't usually share these stories, but I'm hoping that speaking up will help others know that they are not alone. Growing up, I was the nerdy type. My idea of a good day was to have all my time to myself in my bedroom, reading a detective novel. I seldom went out, and I hated going out anyway because I disliked the catcalling and suggestive remarks I got from guys on the street when I had to go out. And I got that a lot. I inherited large hips from the women on my dad's side of the family. I wasn't big, but as I got into puberty, my hips and butt got more and more pronounced than my upper body. Some of my friends envied my so-called hourglass figure, but they had no idea what it felt like to be in my body. The negative attention was overwhelming. It was so bad that I had random guys on the street hit my butt a few times as I walked by. I couldn't possibly fight street guys, so I had little recourse. I just hated going out if I wasn't in a private vehicle. I also got very few visitors because I discouraged my friends from coming so that I would not have to walk them down the road when they were leaving. I became so self-conscious about my body that I started wearing frumpy loose dresses to take attention away from myself. It didn't hide things completely, but at least it lessened the pronunciation a bit. I am an only girl and a firstborn, but I did not feel like I could speak with my mom about it. She couldn't understand why I always wanted loose clothes, and she often just called me an old woman. The year when I got into university, I had to go for a medical exam as part of the admissions requirement. I was 17. My dad took me to his friend's hospital, not too far from the house. He dropped me off on his way to work. I was assigned to a male doctor to run a physical exam. He kept pressing on my butt, saying he felt some tautness and that I may need to come back for some further investigation. He kept returning to examine my butt every few minutes, and I knew what he was doing, but I had no grounds on which to prove that he was doing anything wrong. I was just glad when it was over. When I got to school, most of the guys who showed me attention on campus were a bit more discreet in their behavior, although their eyes usually gave them away when they offered me compliments. But there were a few uncouth ones too, who couldn't help themselves and spewed their vulgar thoughts. I wasn't as conservative with my dressing when I went to campus, and because I really liked jeans, I had come back to wearing them. But by the end of my first year, I couldn't cope with the uncomfortable feelings, so I quit wearing trousers and went back to wearing only long, loose dresses, trying to be as trendy in them as I could possibly be. My friends couldn't understand, and I was too embarrassed to share my reason. My self-esteem really took a bad hit. In my final year, I had some issues with my final results. Some of my elective scores were omitted, and this affected my grade, bringing me down to a lower second class instead of an easy upper second class. I went to see my course tutor in his office, and he propositioned me, refusing to help me resolve the issue if I didn't give in to his advances. I didn't, and so I graduated with a second class lower rather than a second class upper. My classmates were surprised at my final grade because I was one of the ones in line for a second class upper. During my service year, an NYSC official also tried to proposition me during the camp. When I turned him down, he He ensured that I was posted to serve in the local government area he supervised, and he picked on me throughout my service year. When I started looking for a job, I got offers of help in exchange for sexual favors so many times that I thought it was the usual thing. At my first job in a bank, I had a boss who made my life hell because I pretended not to see his advances. I was eventually able to get transferred out of his unit when he denied me a promotion for 2 years running. In my 10 years of work life, I have lost count of the number of times I've had to push back against sexual harassment personally or help a female colleague through her situation. I really did not realize how badly I was affected until I started dating. It was hard for me to see any man's intentions as being pure. My mindset was that all men only wanted one thing, and so I was detached and opted out at the slightest sign of sexual interest. My relationships were always short-lived. My husband had a hard time getting through to me, and that was when I realized how deeply I had been affected by my experiences. As I said, I'm not very open about these incidents because I feel somewhat embarrassed sharing them, but I would like to lend my voice to this conversation. I am also hoping that speaking up will help me overcome some of the negative emotions I still feel about it. As a woman, have you experienced this kind of harassment or molestation? Please share your thoughts or your experience in the comments below. Remember to hit the subscribe button and to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos.